Hey, welcome back. Well, here's something a bit different. I'm going to do an album battle. So two contrasting albums, and we'll see which one comes out on top. As you can see, I've got Beth Taylor on the screen, big personality from here in Australia, TV host on Hey Saturday, Funny Its Own Video Show. But before all that, she did make an album. So we're going to listen to that. Now I'm going to base all these criteria, and we'll see who comes out on top, on 5 key factors. It's going to be vocal performance, instrument performance, lyrics, originality, and production and audio quality. So we're going to listen to Beth Taylor first. There's no reason to keep the second artist as a surprise. It's going to be a picture of that in my thumbnail. So that's going to be Slayer, Rain in Blood. So it's going to be very interesting. So let's listen to Beth Taylor first, and then we'll move on to Slayer. Okay, well, there we go with Beth Taylor, 99 Reasons. It's actually, surprisingly, not a bad album. I'll give it based on my scoring criteria, I've got 5 points, so I'm going to give it a score out of 10 on each one. So we'll just go through that. We'll give vocal performance a 7. Her vocals are pretty good. She struggles in those higher registers, sounds a bit shrill. I think when females can't quite get that higher note, I think the official term sounds like a nagging sound, doesn't it? But it does sort of grate on your bit when she tries to sing too high. But when she keeps it, around the mid-range, it sounds pretty good. Instrument performance, give that a solid 6. Nothing too flash. There is real instruments being played on this, which is great. Plenty of synth sounds and bass and drums, that sort of gear. No blazing guitar solos or, plenty of complex drum patterns or anything like that. Lyrics, give it 5. Just pretty basic, just the boy-girl relationship sort of stuff. The last song tries to get a bit serious, but we'll get to that in a minute. Is it original or not? No, not really. It does sound a lot like the product of its time. The big artist of this time was Janet Jackson and Paula Abdul, so it does sound. There are songs that sound a lot like those artists, I should say. Production audio quality. This is where it really picks up. I give this a 9 out of 10. So this is it does sound really good. And a lot of these Australian produced albums back in this day, or even before this in the 80s, did sound great. And this one does sound pretty good. As I said, this is in stereo. There's no Dolby Atmos, of course, but in stereo, it really does give some good panning effects and sounds really good. As you can see, I've got a pretty good sound system in. Got my Magnipan speakers set up. This is the third listen on this album. I listened to it in the car on the way to work, and on the way home, on a pair of headphones through a pretty good DAC, and now on my main sound system. So I've got a pretty good taste of how it sounds. So all up, it's a 32 out of 50. So that's pretty good. Going through the individual songs, I won't go through all of them, but like the first song, 99 Reasons, was her big hit. So she's led off the album with her biggest hit, I suppose. It wasn't a massive hit in Australia. Actually, the whole album didn't do great things, and I think it probably should have done better, actually. But anyway, then we go down to a couple of songs that sort of You Got a Good Thing, I sort of not too fussed of. Slow Jam and Worth My Time. Slow Jam was a bit of that slow ballad Janet Jackson sort of vibe when she did those slower songs. It sounds like that. Worth My Time, that's when you get the first hint of a Paula Abdul song. Now I believe that Debbie Gibson wrote a few of these songs, 4 or 5 of them. I'm not quite sure which ones, but she did have some songwriters to write these songs for her. So which is what happens in today's pop music, but they probably will get 6 or 7 songwriters to write one song, kind of thing. Anyway, so You Don't Owe Me, that's a you don't know me. I sort of since I heard that, it sounded actually pretty good. I thought, yeah, that should have been a single at least, and it actually was. It was the second single, and I think that should have done much better. Now she's got a male vocalist to sing on with this. I'm thinking she would have really tried hard to get someone like, you know, Johnny Farnham or you know, someone like that ilk back in the day, but you know, probably a bit too big of a name for her. But she got someone called Jimmy. I'm just going to read this. Jimmy Demers. Didn't know much about him, but did a bit of research, and yeah, he's a great vocalist. He's awesome actually. I believe he's one of those sort of, you know, vocalists for hire. Does lots of stuff. Does lots of ads. I believe he was a voice for the Coke ad. So yeah, it's actually a real highlight of the album. You know, then we go down to songs like Isn't This If This Isn't Love, you know, she tries that real adult sort of sound. You know, and then then it picks back up into a dancey sort of mode. Fingers Crossed was a real Paula Abdul vibe. And the last song, it sounds like she really wanted to do a big sort of social, sort of justice sort of song, or a big epic. But yeah, it's probably, you know, didn't sort of make a single or nothing out of it. But still, very well produced, by the way. There's sound effects going on. There's, you know, police sirens, that sort of buzz around your head kind of thing. So that sounds pretty cool. So there we go, Jo Beth Taylor. As I said, it's a score of 32 out of 50. So let's go from Jo Beth Taylor straight into Slayer and see how we go. Well, what a contrast there. Slayer, Raining Blood. That's a very short and sharp album. What's the total runtime on this? Back up. 28 minutes. Man, that is quick. Feels like it too. So yeah, let's get into it, eh? So I give this so we'll start with vocal performance. I give it about a 6. You know, it's yeah, pretty rough. It's not too rough. You can still understand what he says, but as you can see from the album cover, it's not you know, Tony Bennett or Dean Martin or nothing like that. Instrumental performance, I give that a 9. It's just blistering. How can people just play that fast? The drummer, Dave Lombardo, is something special. He just absolutely rips on it, and the guitarists interplaying guitarists are playing on each other. Just not so much like a 28-minute full-on guitar solos going on. Lyrics, give it a 7. As you can see from those song titles, they're all pretty deep stuff. There's yeah, they're sort of writing about historical events, even though how nasty they were. Yeah, religious stuff. Yeah, I won't go too much deep into it. You can sort of listen to the album to work out what they are. Original, is it original? It is pretty original, you know. There was a lot of this sort of thrash metal around at the time, so it you know, takes its cues from all that genre. But still, when this came out, it was one of the fastest, heaviest albums of the time. So I gave it an 8 for that. So it's reasonably original. Production audio quality sort of, you know, drags down there a bit. I'll give that a 7. Yeah, it's just so fast. It's very hard to separate the instruments. You know, the producer, which was pretty sure it was Rick Rubin actually. I know he definitely produced the album after this, Seasons in the Abyss, but yeah, it would have been pretty hard to get some nice instrument separation out of this one, because it's just so brutally fast. It all does blend together a little bit. The last song sort of picks out the production a bit, and there's a sort of like a rain falling down, a few sound effects there. A little bit of a slower song, you know, slow. You know, it's not slow compared to most songs, but it's slow compared to the rest of this album. But all in all, it's yeah. So that's a total of 37 out of 50. So it does beat Jo Beth Taylor, but not by too much. Only by 5 points actually. So yeah, pretty surprised how well the Jo Beth Taylor album stood up to this. That this is just a absolute powerhouse. I bought this when it first came out. When did it come out actually? What year are we talking? Oh, 1986. No, actually, I'll tell a lie. It would have been later. I would have got Seasons of the Abyss first, because the single Seasons of the Abyss is an absolute epic. So I think in 1986 I would have been way too scared to listen to this. So it would have been around about the same time as the Joe Beth Taylor came out. I would have bought this around about 91. Yeah, sort of 86. I was definitely not mature enough to listen to this. It would have been scared the absolute crap out of me. Which it still did back then, actually, when I first bought it. I remember bringing it home and putting it on the CD player and going, oh, no, that's a bit too much for me. I was more into the hard rock sort of stuff back then, the hair metal as it is called now. And yeah, I was just starting to get into the Metallicas and Megadeths, probably Testament, Overkill, and then came this, and I thought, yeah, I better put that on the back burner for a bit. And then then slowly got into it a bit more, and realised what great musicians these guys are. So anyway, so here we have it, eh? Joe Beth Taylor versus Slayer. You can't get much more of a contrast than that. If you're a Slayer fan, try and listen to Joe Beth Taylor. If you're a Joe Beth Taylor fan, try and listen to this. Broaden the old musical horizon there. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Yeah, write some comments below. Maybe suggest some albums I can review in the future. Two sort of contrasting genres and albums I can sort of battle each other against. And we'll see you soon. Bye.